The deep hum of Air Force One filled the cabin like a pulse, steady, powerful, unmistakable. The blue and white jet, a symbol of American command and prestige, sliced through the cold night sky. Inside, under the soft amber cabin lights, Donald Trump was pacing. His signature red tie swung slightly as he moved, his phone in one hand and a folder of documents in the other. The mood inside was heavy. His top advisors sat around the polished conference table, speaking in low tones, careful not to provoke him. Trump had just received a piece of information that, in his mind, changed everything. "We're not going straight to Washington," he said suddenly, his voice cutting through the quiet. "We're going to Texas first. I need to meet someone, tonight." The advisors froze. One of them, a younger aide named Daniels, hesitated. "Sir, the flight plan's already cleared through every channel. Secret Service, FAA, NORAD. Changing mid-flight would require me saying so," Trump interrupted sharply, pointing a finger toward him. "We're doing it. I'm the one they cleared this plane for, remember?" Daniels swallowed hard. "Of course, sir, but..." "No buts," Trump snapped. "Get the pilot on the line. I don't care what it takes." Within moments, the pilot's composed voice came over the cabin intercom. "Mr. President, this is Captain Morgan. I understand you're requesting a route change." "That's right," Trump said, leaning toward the microphone. "Divert to Austin, Texas. Immediately." A pause. Then the pilot spoke again. Calm, measured. "Sir, I can't authorize that without updated clearance codes. We'd need confirmation from the National Command Authority and Air Traffic Command before making any deviation." Trump's brows drew together. "Captain, I'm the president. You have my confirmation. Turn this plane." "Sir," Morgan replied, still respectful but firm, "my orders come from the Department of Defense chain of command. Without their approval, it would be a violation of protocol and possibly a federal infraction. I can't risk that." The room went dead silent. Everyone's eyes darted between Trump and the nearest speaker. Trump leaned closer, his voice rising. "You're refusing a direct order from the President of the United States." There was a long, tense pause, then Morgan's voice came again, unshaken. "With respect, sir, my oath is to the Constitution, not to any individual. Until I receive proper clearance, we stay on course." You could feel the air tighten. Daniels shifted in his seat. Another aide muttered under his breath. Secret Service agents subtly repositioned near the door, sensing the volatility in the air. Trump's expression hardened. "You know what this means, Captain," he said coldly. "You're ending your career tonight." Morgan didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, there was steel in his tone. "If doing my duty ends my career, sir, then so be it." The cabin fell into a stunned silence. Even those closest to Trump, used to his storms of temper, were taken aback. This wasn't defiance for politics. This was something deeper. A quiet, immovable line drawn in the sky at 35,000 feet. Trump turned to his advisors. "Unbelievable," he muttered, shaking his head. "On my plane, my own pilot." No one dared respond. Outside the window, stars streaked across the darkness, and below them, the faint outlines of city lights glimmered through the clouds. Inside Air Force One, the power dynamic, usually so absolute, had shifted in a single moment. Trump stared out the window for a long time, his jaw tight. "Fine," he said finally, sitting down. "We'll see how far his oath gets him when I land." But for the first time that night, even he sounded uncertain. Midnight arrived like the final act of a play. Millions of Americans tuned in as notifications lit up phones nationwide. Live, Trump responds to Jeffries. The feed opened not with fanfare, but with silence. A single spotlight fell on Trump, seated at a desk adorned with a small American flag and a pumpkin carved with the word USA. The atmosphere was somber, almost presidential, yet charged with an undercurrent of showmanship only he could command. "Hakeem Jeffries says I'm fake," Trump began, his tone steady, his eyes locked on the camera. "He says I wear a mask. But I've been the same man every day, loved by millions, hated by a few, but always standing up for this country." He leaned forward slightly. "The only costume I've ever seen is the one he wears when he pretends to care about working Americans while voting against their interests." His words cut through the quiet like a blade. Commentators later said it was the calmness that made it sting so deeply. Trump wasn't shouting. He was performing, controlling the silence between his sentences like a conductor leading an orchestra. Then came the twist no one expected. Trump reached under the desk and held up a thick envelope. "You want to talk about Halloween?" he said. "Here's a treat for America." He opened the letter and read aloud. "The Trump Foundation will donate $5 million to children's hospitals across the nation, so kids in every city can enjoy this night, no matter what they're going through." The ballroom at Mar-a-Lago erupted into applause. Cameras flashed, guests stood, some even teared up. Across the country, the narrative shifted in real time. Hashtag Trump treat trended within minutes, drowning out hashtag fake Trump entirely. Even anchors who moments earlier were preparing to criticize him paused mid-sentence, recalibrating their tone. Trump wasn't finished. "Leadership," he said, "isn't about calling people names. It's about giving, building, and fighting for those who can't fight for themselves." If Jeffries wants to talk about masks, he can start by taking off his own. Then he smiled, a slow, knowing grin that sent ripples through the media world. By morning, every major network had flipped its tone. Headlines blared. "Trump turns Halloween attack into a masterstroke." Pundits called it one of his smartest PR moves in years. What began as a night of insults ended with a powerful message, and a reminder that in politics, timing is everything. By dawn, Washington was buzzing like a kicked beehive. Cable networks replayed Trump's midnight broadcast on loop, and even those who loathed him couldn't deny, it was a brilliant counterpunch. The clip of him lifting the donation letter had gone viral, reshared by millions, from loyal supporters to stunned skeptics. Memes shifted overnight from mocking Trump to mocking Jeffries, portraying him as a politician who had accidentally handed his rival a golden spotlight. In the Capitol, Jeffries' office was in chaos. Aides rushed in with reports, poll numbers, social media reactions, trending hashtags, all showing one thing: Trump had flipped the script. Jeffries sat at his desk, eyes glued to the television as commentators, one after another, praised Trump's unexpected composure. "He made Jeffries look petty," one pundit said. "While Hakeem threw punches, Trump gave candy to sick kids. That's how you win hearts." Jeffries slammed his pen onto the table. "He turned my words into a circus," he muttered, pacing the room. He hijacked the story. His press secretary tried to spin it, suggesting they issue a statement clarifying that Jeffries supported the donation, but he waved it off. It was too late. The Halloween metaphor had reversed. Trump was now the hero without a mask, and Jeffries the villain exposed under bright lights. Meanwhile, in Mar-a-Lago, Trump basked in the afterglow. His advisors, once tense, were now grinning ear to ear. "Sir, you dominated the cycle," one of them said. "You didn't just win the night, you owned it." Trump chuckled, sipping his Diet Coke. "I told them," he said. "You don't fight a showman on stage unless you're ready to be the opening act." By mid-afternoon, the narrative solidified. Conservative outlets ran with the headline, "Jeffries tries trick, Trump gives treat." Even some mainstream networks admitted that Trump's reaction showed restraint and surprising generosity. A few anchors pointed out that the donation announcement wasn't planned, it was spontaneous, approved minutes before going live. That only amplified the story's emotional power. Outside the political sphere, ordinary Americans discussed it at coffee shops, schools, and online forums. Some said it was pure strategy, others claimed it showed Trump's human side. Either way, the public was talking about him again, and not about Jeffries' attack. By nightfall, Halloween was over, but its biggest costume had been ripped away, not from Trump, but from the man who tried to expose him. The following day, the storm reached full force. Every network, newspaper, and political talk show dissected the Halloween clash between Trump and Jeffries. Analysts broke down every second of Trump's broadcast, the lighting, the timing, even the pumpkin with USA carved into it. It wasn't just a response, one commentator said on Fox News. It was theater, calculated, patriotic, emotional. CNN called it a masterclass in narrative control. MSNBC reluctantly admitted, Jeffries struck first, but Trump ended the fight. Across the nation, donations to children's hospitals surged as people followed Trump's lead. Hashtags like hashtag Halloween for Hope and hashtag Trump treat dominated social platforms. Videos surfaced of hospital staff thanking donors, and one clip of a little girl in a hospital bed saying, "Thank you, Mr. Trump," gained millions of views overnight. The emotional wave was unstoppable, and it all pointed back to Trump's midnight broadcast. At the same time, Jeffries' camp was scrambling. He tried to reclaim control by holding a press conference, insisting that Trump's gesture doesn't erase years of deception. But the press wasn't interested in his rebuttal. The questions turned hostile. "Congressman, do you regret calling him a fake?" One reporter asked. "Do you think the donation outshined your message?" Another added, "Some say your comments helped Trump. Was that your intention?" Jeffries' confident demeanor cracked for the first time. "No," he snapped, "the truth doesn't change because of a stunt." But the damage was visible. The headlines that evening were merciless. Jeffries backpedals after Trump turns tables. Even his allies privately admitted the Halloween speech had backfired spectacularly. Meanwhile, at Mar-a-Lago, Trump was already planning his next move. His team advised him to maintain the generous statesman image for a few weeks, to let the goodwill sink in. Trump grinned. "I didn't plan it," he said, "but I knew what it would do. You can't fight chaos with anger, you fight it with surprise." Later that night, he appeared again on camera, this time at a children's hospital event streamed live. He didn't talk politics. He handed out candy, posed for photos, and told kids, Halloween's about fun and hope. The moment felt genuine, even to his critics. By the end of the week, polls showed an unexpected bump in his favor. What began as a public attack had turned into a political resurrection. And somewhere in the Capitol, Hakeem Jeffries was realizing that sometimes the loudest punch in politics lands on the wrong person. By the end of that week, the Halloween showdown had become legend. Every strategist in Washington was studying it, how a single insult had turned into a nationwide conversation about leadership, perception, and timing. Political analysts dubbed it the Great Reversal. Trump's move wasn't just a response, it was a rebranding moment that shifted public sentiment almost overnight. Even seasoned commentators admitted they hadn't seen it coming. In New York, magazine editors scrambled to update their covers. Time ran the headline, "The Comeback, How Trump Turned Trick into Treat." The Atlantic called it a moment of accidental genius, while even the New York Times conceded that his composure and philanthropy caught Washington off guard. It wasn't just political, it was cultural. Memes, art, and short videos flooded TikTok, mixing patriotic music with clips of Trump's quiet defiance and the sound of children laughing in hospitals across America. Inside Jeffries' circle, morale plummeted. Staffers avoided eye contact in meetings, polling numbers dipped, and donors whispered about strategic misfires. The congressman's advisors urged him to pivot to another topic, but the media wouldn't let go. Every time he spoke, reporters brought the conversation back to that one night. "Do you regret the Halloween comments?" they'd ask. Jeffries began to realize that his words, once meant to expose Trump, had only exposed himself. Meanwhile, Trump capitalized on the moment with uncanny precision. He hosted a small press event at Mar-a-Lago, inviting several children who had benefited from the hospital donations. Cameras captured him laughing, handing out toys, and saying, "Politics should never come before kindness." It was a carefully orchestrated scene, one that made him appear softer, more human, and miles ahead of his rivals in the optics game. Behind the scenes, his aides couldn't stop smiling. He turned a Halloween insult into a holiday miracle, one strategist joked. Trump, in his usual confident tone, replied, "You win battles not by shouting, but by making the other side look like the trick." By November's first week, polls showed a significant rise in his approval ratings. Even independents, once wary, viewed him more favorably. The Halloween feud had begun as an attack, but it ended as a redemption story. Across America, one truth echoed from newsrooms to dinner tables. When the world expected chaos, Trump gave calm, and in doing so, reminded everyone why he was still the most unpredictable man in politics.